The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Wednesday. It's hump day. And we've got to start out with a
little
public service announcement here.
It seems that people in the city are getting phone calls from people or an organization claiming that they're raising money for the Fall River Fire Department. This is a scam. Chief Lynch has made it very clear that the Fall River Fire Department is not soliciting donations over the phone from anyone. Please do not give them your credit card number, and if you have any questions, so please call the chief at the Fall River Fire Department Central Office.
Well,
or call the Fall River Police Department.
Yeah, I'll call both. But look, while we're on that subject, this is not the first time. Actually, when I was the president, we ran a legal fundraiser, only one. And we even had issues with that because people were a little bit more skeptical in those days. And but since then, there have been 3 or 4. You got to be very careful. When you get solicited, number one, you shouldn't give them your credit card number. You shouldn't give them, you know, unless you vetted them really thoroughly. And listen to the names carefully. We had one instance where the Fall River Firefighters Museum was raising money, and not that what isn't a worthy cause, but it wasn't Fall River Firefighters. People only heard Fall River Firefighters. And there are other things that have names of firefighters in them or police. And we've seen the scams with the fundraisers for the police officers who died in the line of duty. Listen, there are a lot of scammers out there, and they'll jump on this stuff. And firefighters and fire departments are always been a prime target. I was solicited 3 or 4 times by some of these people. This is not the first time this has happened. And also, Chief Lynch released a statement, but the unions should release one too, because sometimes firefighters' unions have fundraisers. Sometimes they have celebrity hockey games. Sometimes they have, you know, other kind of entertainment events, and sometimes it's just a telemarketing solicitation. But be careful. Just check into it. Make sure that you verify it. Don't give your credit card number. Don't give them any information. Just ask them, you know, very specifically, I want you to tell me exactly who you're raising the money for, what it's for, and then I'm going to verify it. And then verify it. Don't just give people any information at all about yourself. These are predatory telemarketers, and you shouldn't be involved in this. You know, don't get duped and lose your hard-earned money. So that's some advice from someone who's been there, done that. I've raised money, and I've also seen scams that were associated with a department that at the time I was the president of the union. So I've seen it before. It's not the first time. Firefighting and police are prime targets of these phony solicitors because everybody, you know, if a police officer dies in the line of duty, everybody wants to give, and when they get a call like this, they won't even think about it. Oh, yes, absolutely. If it's the fire department, they go, oh, yeah, the firefighters are wonderful, and, you know, so don't get duped. You know.
Yeah, and, you know, right after the explosions that happened in Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover,
yep,
phone calls started going out from, I mean, almost immediately, saying that the money is to offset the cost of people who've lost their homes and try to pay for volunteers. And people were buying it, you know, because they feel bad.
You know, because there are a lot of sympathetic people out there, and it's good. But as I said, you've got to be very careful. Public safety is always one of their primary marketing tools. They always say it's for firefighters or police officers because, you know, it's always about people who help the community, and people just let their guard down when they hear that. Immediately, as soon as they hear something like that, they're immediately going to let it down, and that's, just be careful, just be careful. Don't give them any information, verify. I can tell you what, Chief Lynch has been on the phone. I'm sure that, I know when I ran it, I never had a problem with people calling to verify. I would rather have people feel good when we did actually run a legitimate fundraiser, and if somebody's duping somebody in the name of a fire or police department, believe me, they're the first people that don't want this to happen.
Exactly, exactly. Well,
so let's move on.
Let's move on to the news.
The news.
Fall River Neighborhood Group ready to fight STAR on their appeal.
Well, yeah. And you know the thing about it, I like the quote. This is a quote from the Herald News article by Joe Good. This is a quote. At the end of the day, it's not just a North End issue. It's a City of Fall River issue, unquote, by Anton Dias, the treasurer of the North End neighborhood. And he's right. And it's not only a City of Fall River issue, it's a state issue. We have said time and time again on this show, we took a position on this show, we talked about it, and I talked about it, that, Fall River is always the orphan. We get all the crap, everybody else gets all the money. They've turned Fall River into a dumping ground from every housing authority in the state of Massachusetts. And now we've become the dumping ground for every opioid addict in the Commonwealth. I think this is the only or one of only two that have the facilities to take people that are in here on court-ordered stuff. So we get them all. My question to our state delegation and to our governor and to our city councilors is, why haven't you people begun to push for having facilities located throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? I have no problem with taking care of our own problems. But let's share the wealth. Let the Cape take care of their junkies. Let Newton and Wellesley take care of their junkies.
Do they have any?
No, they're all here.
I know.
Because that's what happens. They send them down to a treatment facility. When they get done with their treatment, they stay here. Because number one, it's much easier to get drugs. Secondly, most of them are indigent. And they can't go back, and they won't go back because obviously, it's easier to hide in plain sight in an area that is infested with drug addicts. So, this is a thing that really irritates me about, our state delegations, our representatives, our city council. They're so busy being politically correct and wringing their hands, they don't care about the victims, the law-abiding taxpayers who have to pay for all this garbage and pay not only in taxes, but pay in quality of life. They have to live in a city that's rampantly full of drugs, crime, because of this. And I'm going to segue into this for a second, CJ, because I just have to get this one out, because it's a great example. And I didn't know we were going to talk about this today, but it's a great example of how the government, from the federal government down, doesn't give a damn about what the cost is in dollars, in tax dollars, or in suffering of victims of in this country. And if you want to check my facts, this came from the statistics of the United States Government Accountability Office. These statistics were aired on this Sunday, September 16th, on Full Measure. And these are the stats about illegal, not illegal crimes, illegal alien crimes. 1 in 5 inmates in federal prison are criminal aliens. 91% of these criminal aliens are from Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, Colombia, and the Dominican Republic. Between 2011 and 2016, more than 730,000 criminal aliens were in prison. They made 4.9 million arrests for 7.5 million offenses. More than 1 million drug crimes, more than 663,000 assaults, sex offenses, and kidnappings, 33,000 homicides, 1,500 terror-related crimes. The cost to the taxpayers between 2010 and 2015, $15 billion. $15 billion. And how about the families of the 663,000 assaults, the 33,000 homicides? And then we got these sanctuary city clowns saying, how about these poor people? Well, you know something? Let them come in legally. I don't have a problem with immigrants. Everybody in this nation was an immigrant. Nobody was here first. Even the Indians, they came over the ice bridge from Asia. There are no native anything. Native Americans aren't even native to America if you want to go back far enough. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, there's no such thing as a hyphenated American. And he went on to say some of the best Americans I know are naturalized Americans. But when you come to this country illegally, you're an illegal. You're not an undocumented anything. You're illegal. You violated the laws of the United States. And the United States government has an obligation to ensure domestic tranquility and provide for the common defense for the people of the United States. And they're not doing their damn job. 33,000 families lost one of their family members to a homicide. So what's the moral of that story? We should not have sanctuary cities. We should not have illegals in this country. Because if we stopped illegal immigration, none of this would have happened. So you're going to tell me there's 10 million of them that are okay? I don't care. I don't care. There are 33,000 Americans that were killed. 663,000 that got raped and terrorized. But that's okay. It's okay for Americans to suffer those things. And you know why our Congress and our politicians don't care? Because they don't live in places like you and I live. Try to go terrorize the Kennedy compound down at Cape. See how close you get. Find out where all these judges live and look at their annual income. See how many illegal aliens there are running around the streets and drug addicts there are in all the Newtons and the Welsleys of this country. Very few. And if you think I'm hardline on this, you're right. And good for you, North End Neighborhood Association. But let's get the rest of Fall River in here. Let's share the wealth. We pay state tax, federal tax, and city taxes. Why should the city of Fall River have to take the collateral damage of bringing these people down here, letting them stay, and having them commit crimes? Why doesn't everybody, why isn't there a facility like STAR within a 10-mile radius of every major city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Can you answer me that question? I don't think so. All right, that's enough rant for me today. Because that really, well, when I saw this program, I already knew that, but to see these statistics in hard line, you know, because you see them piecemeal. You get a statistic, you see
Right.
about on television, you see about this illegal alien getting arrested for murder, and this. But now, when you start, when they actually collated these numbers, and you look at these numbers, they're horrifying. 1 million drug crimes, and we've got an opioid, we've got a drug problem in the United States. You think one of the first steps in trying to curb this would be to stop people who committed 1 million drug crimes from coming into this country? No, not in the United States. We're too busy taking care of everybody that violates the law, like taking drugs and selling drugs and killing people. And we say to the people who we are, by the way, as I said, that's a quote, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare for ourselves and our posterity.
I wonder where you got that from.
Yeah, I wonder. Look it up. I'm not going to tell you this time. You should know it by heart.
By heart.
Because it starts, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, and it goes on. So if that's your hint, look it up.
I got a song for it. It used to air on Saturday mornings.
That's right. So, yeah, good for you, Neighborhood Association. If you need any help, you know, you want me to sign anything, bring it on by.
You know, I read their 21-page dissent opinion. It was, honestly, it's a legal brief. It is it's truly a legal brief. And Anton Dias wrote it. So Anton's kind of like the mirror image of me.
Yeah. And while you're on that subject, by the way, I said it before the show, and I'll say it, I think that they should bring you in, too, as an expert witness. We've said it before. CJ testified in front of the country of Canada.
Canadian Health Ministry.
That's right. He testified in front of in front of the government of a bordering country on the epidemic. He is eminently qualified to talk about it. He has a PhD in nursing.
Piled high and deep.
Piled high and deep, yeah. He's got more degrees than a thermometer on that stuff. And he's very well versed on it. And his opinion was well received in Canada. Maybe not well received by the opioid advocates, but the fact is, you know, as I said, I think that they should reach out to you too. And it would be good. When they have if they have a meeting or something like this,
it's tomorrow.
I would love to. Yeah, I would.
The meeting's tomorrow at Government Center in the hearing room. Now, here's the problem: if they don't have enough room in the hearing room, if enough people show up, and I'm asking you out there, please take the time and show up at Government Center tomorrow afternoon. I think it's 5:30. Show up for this hearing. Fill the room. If you fill the room and people can't get in, they have to move the meeting. They have to. They have to adjourn the meeting and move it somewhere and have it in a room where everybody can come in. That's the law. But I'm going to tell you now, if you don't come out and fight this, then it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
Yeah, and apathy, look, it's not, and as he said, it's not only a North End issue. Because when they leave STAR, most of them don't stay in the North End. You know, you see them at the on-ramps and off-ramps of the highway. You see them wandering around the streets in other neighborhoods. But as I said, this is not even a Fall River problem. It's a state problem. It's a problem that why don't, you know, of course the other communities aren't going to ask that question. Why don't they have one? Because they don't want one. As long as they can dump all their refuse in Fall River, like they dump everybody in the projects, and they bus them in from Pennsylvania, and they have billboards to bring all, and of course, let's face it, and look, I'm a realist, I'm a pragmatist. I can't blame them. It's like the movie Scarface. When Cuba kicked out all its people, who did they kick out? Did they kick out the brain surgeons? The nuclear physicists? No. They got rid of all the criminals. All the dregs of their society. That's who they got rid of. It's not the first time that stuff happened. It goes back, it goes back centuries. Anybody know how Australia started?
It was a penal colony.
It was a penal colony. You remember the movie Escape from New York? Well, it was escape to Australia. Britain dumped all its worst criminals and took them and put them on a continent stuck in the Pacific Ocean. They removed them from their country. Australia evolved by necessity, otherwise they would have killed each other off and there'd be nothing there but kangaroos and koalas. But Australia started as a penal colony. You know, so what is it normal to do? I can't blame people who are living in Hyannis and the Cape and doing their Cape thing and people who live in Newton and Wellesley for saying, hey, get rid of those druggies. Where are we going to send them? Yeah, send them to a place like Fall River. They'll blend right in. Nobody will even notice another few. Nobody cares. And they'll never complain about it. They'll never do anything. Well, it's time to do something. It's time to send people up to Boston who are going to fight for equity. And this is an equity issue. Why should we bear all the negative burdens? Most dangerous city, highest crime, a mess. So who do we get? How does our state help us? How do our government officials help us?
Dump more of them here.
They send more down from their housing authorities, and like I said, I can't blame them. Look, if I was running a housing authority in Boston and they told me I could get rid of 200 of my worst tenants by sending them to a Fall River housing authority, they'd be gone. Well, you don't have to tell you, right? Your son-in-law is a mover.
Yep.
He was moving people into our housing authority from Pennsylvania.
Yep, exactly.
So, I mean, look, I don't blame them. But I blame the people who represent us. Why haven't they said, look, let's everybody, you know, we all have to pay taxes. Maybe disproportionately even for the rich. There's even a disparity in that. But the reality is we all have to share in taxes. We all have to share in the burden. Why don't we share it? Why isn't there a facility within a reasonable radius of every major center in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Why? Because guess what? It's like dump all your refuse down in southeastern Mass, because that's the left cheek and the right cheek, Fall River and New Bedford.
The problem is that by doing this, they kept us the poorest part of the state. We get the least for our improvement. Okay, we get the most in grants to upkeep our public safety and our roads, but we get the least in maintaining improvements for the people.
Yeah, you're right. And what does that get back to? Their insensitivity to the people,
right.
To the people
we have
who are law-abiding. Because, like you said, they'll give us all the worst of their housing authority. They'll send all of the addicts down here. But what do they give us money for? They know that the crime rate's gone through the roof, so they send us more to hurt that. So they'll send us a grant to get a few more police officers.
Right.
But that does not fix the victims.
Right, and
that does not fix the victims. These people who are suffering from illegal aliens and the crime they've committed and the statistics I read, they don't care. They don't care that the elderly people in Fall River has one of the highest elderly populations in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, if not the highest. I knew the statistic. I have it in my notes, and I cited it once, and we may be the highest, but we're one of the highest. Those people that are afraid to come out of their high-rises and walk around the streets because of the crime on our streets, those are victims. Those are victims. People who went to work every day and now are being victimized because this is like, this has become, this is not, as a movie that I really like at the end, and I'm paraphrasing, not exact quote, as one law enforcement agent was telling a FBI agent who was an idealist, he said, go find a nice small community where the rule of law still exists. You can't survive here. This is the land of the wolves, and you're not a wolf. They've made Fall River the land of the wolves. These people are predators. I don't want to hear they got a disease. They'll steal, they'll lie, they'll do anything for their habit, And there are victims, and everybody forgets about the victims. And that's what really upsets me. Nobody cares. This city has been kept this way, and as far as I'm concerned, the state and the federal government are complicit. They're accessories before, during, and after the fact of keeping Fall River and helping Fall River always be one of the worst cities for crime and opioid addiction in the state of Massachusetts. And that's just my opinion.
And you know,
can disagree all you want, but I don't care.
But if you ask some of these libtards, okay, they'll turn around and say that the drug addicts are victims.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
And they're not
just
victims.
like the illegal aliens.
Right.
Because they want the Latino vote. We've got the Democratic Party. They want to make everything a sanctuary city. That's what this thing actually started about. It was about a community called Santa Clarita, California, who took a vote at the city council not to be a sanctuary city. And then when they talked about why they didn't want to be a sanctuary city, Sherry Atkinson, the lead commentator on Full Measure, started citing these statistics from the United States Government Accountability Office about it's just mind-boggling.
Yes.
Mind-boggling. More than 1 million drug crimes. You know, 663,000 assaults, sex offenses, and kidnappings. 33,000 homicides. 33,000 people killed. Where are our sanctuary birds again? Yeah, stick them in those communities. Let them go visit those 33,000 families. Because they are victims. And they are United States residents, and they are entitled to domestic tranquility.
You live in a
That's why I pray every day I hit the Powerball, because you know what I'm going to do with the Powerball? I'd never live long enough to spend a hundredth of what I'd win. I'll tell you what. I would hire a lawyer and sue the government for failure to do their obligated duty, not to abide by their rule of law.
right.
And I don't care if I'd lose, and I don't care if they stayed in court. I'd pay them enough to let them stay in court for 100 years out of the Powerball, because that's exactly what I do, and you can hold me to that if I ever hit the Powerball.
I will. Well, it looks like the voters of Fall River are going to, again, have to vote on something for schools.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good.
Big Fall River School Repair Project.
Now we can see all the commercials
snags.
coming out. They've already started. Our boy from over Bay Coast has already got... I love that commercial because, you know, when you think about it, that commercial says everything we said when we opposed the debt exclusion. They got... I forgot his name already. The guy who said, I went to Durfee High School and I got an education, and now I got my lifelong dream. I moved to California. There you go. There you go. Nobody wants to live here. So let the taxpayers keep paying taxes to educate people so they can get the hell out. Because we're getting worse. Now we're the second most dangerous city in New England. 10 years ago, you could get an education and might stay somewhere close to Fall River. They got a commercial that tells how this guy got an education at Durfee High School and lived his lifelong dream of getting the hell out of here.
Yeah,
there you go.
He came back to Fall River to
Thank you, Bay
teach.
Coast, for spending my money that I put in your bank, which I think I'm going to take all my money out of this because of that. Because, look, I don't care. They're entitled to their personal opinion. But when he uses the money he's making off my money to raise my taxes, he's crossed the line.
Well, just tell us how you really feel, Chin.
Yeah. Well, these are subjects that are near and dear to my heart because I'll tell you what, I sympathize for the victims. I've seen a lot of victims in my time. I saw a lot of victims of fires and accidents and tragedies in my career. And I know what it's like. I see these victims, and I know the toll it takes. And when I see statistics like this, and I know that this government is not only not doing anything about it, they're encouraging it, it really pisses me off.
Well, have a great day, and we'll see you on Friday, everybody. Stay angry.